just shot 27 times.
But only 17 of them hit him. The other 10 didn't hit.
Only 17. I'll see y'all later. You sure you listen, Bill?
HMC Magic 95 assumes all responsibility for its content, and the Wade and Carter Show bears all responsibilities for their opinions and guests on.
Congressman Cloud joins the show. I predict trouble coming for the number 2 at Health and Human Services. Guess what? Kids are being put back in cages. All that and more coming up in today's Wade and Carter Show.
That was good.
That was good.
See how good that was, YouTube?
It's all downhill from here.
He comes in hot, flaming.
Hey, good morning.
Hey, good morning.
How are you today?
Blessed.
Good.
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 Super.
Glad to hear it.
Super, super duper. Want to thank you for having me. Melania and I flew in. It's just a terrific, terrific day.
Not bad.
It's pretty good, actually.
That's pretty good.
I like
actually.
it.
Morning to our YouTuber.
I still don't like that guy. I don't. Bernie Sanders thawed out, took his mittens off.
Here we go.
The Wade and Carter weather brought to you by our great friends at the AT Deerland Feed Farm, Ranch, and Supermarket Store. Fantastic spot. Just a great, it's Americana, folks. If you haven't a need in your mind, I challenge you. Like Ash may need some hay, so he'll go by and get hay. But he always buys something else while he's there. I challenge you, if you got the time, or you can make the time, go by Deerland Feed and just peruse what's in there. And you're going to go, man, I have needed that, whether it's fertilizer or weed killer or something to eliminate rodents,
Warmer
bugs.
for all your animals.
Yeah, your kids, run them through the chute.
There you go.
Slime up their backside. There you go. Get by Deerland Feed. It's 66 degrees in Victoria, heading to a high today of only 72, pretty decent chance of rain this afternoon. There you go. And the plants, it's good. We need a little rain. The grass still needs watering, even though it's,
Even though it's
dormant, even though it's dormant. Yeah, I'm not sure how much real precipitation there was. There was sleet. Everything got wet, but I'm not sure anything got soaked.
Yeah, no, I don't.
Did I start that video?
I don't think you did. I can't find it anywhere. I was trying to stall. I was stretching it for our listeners. But there we go. Now the video started. The YouTube video had started.
I apologize, Victoria and the world. I had everything set up. I just didn't push the button. 66 today, going to a high of 72. Good chance of rain. Get by Deerland Feed. We talked about that. And then folks on Magic 95.9, they heard that all the way to Goliad, Inez, parts of Yoakum, the outskirts of Yoakum.
Scott Snow, first one in. Stephen Kidder, close behind. Good morning to everybody joining us this morning.
Hello, Steve Kidder. Tell you what, Steve Kidder, and we talk about the law offices of Stephen Kidder. He's up early. He's up late. Steve Kidder's there if you need him.
He's a vampire. He don't sleep.
He doesn't sleep. I've never seen him in the sun, now that you mention that. That's a legit point. Or he never looks in a mirror. Interesting. Steve Kidder. No, serious business.
There's my coffee.
You have a civil issue. You have a contract you need studied. You have family, domestic services that you need provided. If you reach out to the law offices of Stephen Kidder, you will not be disappointed. He's a fine attorney and a fine gentleman, and he cares about your family. I promise.
Never confuse the two.
Right.
Fine gentleman, fine attorney.
Right. He's one of the rare ones.
They can be mutually exclusive.
Yes, they can.
Marvin Makers is in. Judge Posey, Lisa Poole, Scott Tomko.
Sometimes you need that. There's people that
Chris Conrad, Patrick Strauss.
There's people that you want to believe can't fail. People like your heart surgeon, maybe your
That's a good
CPA,
one.
right? Your CPA
Your attorney.
and your attorney. Reach out to Steve Kidder with all your concerns. Good morning, Brent Anderson,
J-Dub.
famous architect over in San Antonio.
Got a nice compliment yesterday saying that somebody from back home enjoys our show and wishes that there was something like this in Calgary.
There is. All you have to do is turn on
So
Facebook or YouTube, and there is
we
something.
can maybe do a Canadian edition once a week. Just talk
Good day,
about
eh?
talk about the
No.
issues in Calgary and Canada.
Hello, eh?
Got me thinking.
Well, what do? We just get on the. Okay,
I mean, it
so,
wouldn't be much to change the logo. Just put a maple leaf behind it.
so here's the Canadian version. Like, just tell me something. Just start off with something. Anything.
Justin Trudeau.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
The National Scott Tournament of Hearts has begun. That's the ladies' National Curling Championship.
That is, it's so good. Now, let me ask you this. Do they have, is it like the Brazilian beach volleyball type uniform?
No.
Did you see that deal? They came in, the powers that be said, we're not wearing those skimpy, barely cover anything swimsuits. And the players said, we ain't playing then.
That was in somewhere in
Brazil, wasn't it?
No, I think it was in the Middle East somewhere because
Oh, it was in
It's
Qatar.
offensive,
It
that's
was
what
in
it was,
Qatar. And they said, well, if you want us to come over here, then we're going to wear what we wear or we ain't playing. I think they're making a statement about women's rights.
they
But
finally acquiesced and said, "Yep,
There you
we'll
go.
let you come."
You know, Clint Ives pointed out yesterday when we had the Joe Geisart on the other day, right?
Geisman.
Geisman. It's been
Close.
2 days. I
It's
mean,
been
at
2
least I got
days,
the
yeah.
Geis right.
In the first name.
When Joe was on here, Clint Ives pointed out that really the young Republicans owe a serious, debt of gratitude to Michael Cloud. That Michael Cloud was the guy that really spearheaded and got that going.
Can bring that up when we talk to him.
He'll deflect. You know how he does. He
Yeah.
won't take credit for that.
But he's going to join us, I think, around 7:30 this morning. So
Fantastic.
we're looking forward to that conversation. So more heat on Governor Andrew Cuomo, and my prediction is that the number 2 at Health and Human Services, Rachel Levine, who was apparently in a similar position in the state of Pennsylvania and enacted a very similar policy, almost word for word. Maybe took a page out of Joe Biden's plagiarism playbook,
Right.
but
Same basic.
same premise. If you're elderly and you're exhibiting symptoms of the coronavirus,
Go back to the nursing
come on
home.
back in. Yep, we're going to let you back into the nursing home to infect everybody. And heard an interesting stat this morning that at one point in Pennsylvania, 2 out of every 3 deaths were in nursing homes. It wasn't the whole, but in a certain segment of time, that's how rampant it was running through the nursing homes and not everywhere else. But this is also the same guy. Or girl, I'm sorry. I don't know the proper pronoun
right.
for Rachel Levine, but
It is the person that has gray hair and looks like a man with long hair, but identifies as a woman.
But this is also the same person who the week before announcing that nursing home policy pulled his own mother out of the nursing home. The optics of that just
make Ted Cruz look like a genius.
Yeah. You're going to get on Ted Cruz for getting out of Texas when Texas is freezing over.
But you think this is what's best for the state.
But
not my mom. Get my mom out of there, and then I'm doing it.
You can't tell me this was basically the equivalent of insider trading from a health information perspective.
That's exactly the right analogy. He knew what was coming down. He
knew how dangerous the coronavirus could be to elderly and got his mom out of there.
Yes, that's a great analogy.
And if you're going to run off Governor Cuomo in New York, as they should, there is no way Richard/Rachel Levine should be the number 2 at Health and Human Services as a result of this boondoggle of a decision.
100%
policy.
Agree. That's very well reported, sir. I think you just stop. You just go sit down and relax until Michael Cloud calls. we'll go from there.
Randy Langston, good morning. Matt O'Shea checking in. Karen Webb. Chris Conrad.
We had
Joe
a good
McNeil.
show yesterday, and Dale Zook was on, and I'll admit it, I received a phone call from Tammy Keeling. She did not leave a message, and I haven't had an opportunity to return the call yet. I have a feeling I'm in trouble.
Why would you be in trouble?
I don't know, but I just don't think. I must have misspoken yesterday and said something that is going to get me called on the carpet.
I don't recall you saying anything.
I thought I was.
Dale said a lot.
Dale did say a lot. But I tell you what, one thing about Tammy, she's a stand-up person, and I would love to
Come
get
on the show,
Tammy on the show and let her talk about. I just don't think it's possible for someone to be on the school board for a lengthy period of time and not at least acknowledge that things haven't gone right. And whether that be in the form of, I don't want somebody to come in here and spin the great strides we're making, because, nothing plus one is still just one. It's 100% improvement, but it's still just one when everybody else is operating in 8. But that said, I think our administration's in a great place. Love Quentin Shepard. Love Dr.
I do too.
Bumble.
I think we've got the right leadership in place.
Absolutely. Now we need to let them lead, and I think that's the key. So we'll see. I will return Ms. Keeling's call. She's a very fine lady.
And you can be in favor of Dr. Shepard and still question the financials.
Absolutely.
As Dale Zuck pointed out yesterday.
Sure. And I'll tell you something. I could run for school board tomorrow. Doesn't mean I know beans about studying that balance sheet. It really doesn't. There's no guarantee that I've got any understanding of the M&O and all that good stuff they do over there at VISD.
Bobby Leister checking in. Justin Glass. Good morning, Christina Wise.
I do understand the debacle of their insurance program and the mockery of the system that was implemented this year to choose their current agent. And I'm telling you that I chose not to expose all of that.
Lee Cantu checking in. Alejandro Alvarez, good morning to you. He wants to know.
Alejandro, I've got some trucker hats. You shoot me an address, I'll shoot you a hat.
There you go. So all you got to do is ask.
If you're here in Victoria, I'll hand deliver that hat. I'll get asked to sign. Well, I wouldn't do that to her.
I wouldn't do that to a hat.
Yeah, I wouldn't do that.
Jamie Coleman, good morning. So,
Jamie, you're not late. You haven't missed a thing.
Not really.
Except Ash absolutely correctly pointed out the hypocrisy of the left, which just abounds. I tell you what, let's take a break.
Yeah.
So we can let's do it in reverse order today.
All right.
And tell you that this week, right now, this morning is a good time to reach out to Dana Moore de la Garza. You can find her by calling Memory Gardens. You can find her by calling Grace Funeral Home.
You can call her. You can find her by calling 652-9157.
Yes, 652-9157. Dana Moore de la Garza can help you arrange your funeral. For those of us, that's a common people speak. But there's arrangements. You've got to have a plot. You've got to have. Do you want to be in a coffin? What kind of coffin? Do you want to be in an urn? Do you want to be cremated? What are the relative costs of these two things?
Do you want a church funeral service?
Do you just want to be at Grace Funeral Home? Do you want Charlie Heibold to get up and talk about you? Maybe play the trumpet. He could do these things for you. She can help you work all the details out.
Will there be military arrangements?
Yeah, all of these things so that your family's not scrambling in their grief or in their elation, depending on who you are.
Yeah.
I don't want to disrupt the party. I don't want to disrupt the party for this funeral. Hey, man, I'm glad Dad took care of that.
Yep. Beside the jukebox.
There you go. We can't help but make light of it, but you get the big picture is Dana Moore de la Garza can help you prepare for the inevitable.
Absolutely.
And you can pay it in advance and be done with it, and she can help you with that. Motto Mortgage, reach out to Terry Murray. She represents a whole bunch of different mortgage companies, and she represents everything from conventional, FHA, VA.
Construction loans.
She's got it all. Reach out to
reverse
Motto Mortgage.
mortgages, locally owned, locally operated, a bevy of lenders
And
that she can go talk to, or investors, I think is the term they prefer, who can invest in your home ownership dreams and can probably find you a rate that is as good or better than anything else you'll find out there as well. Plus, you deal with a great person in Terry
Super
who
person.
absolutely understands the mortgage business, has despite her youthful looks, decades of experience.
And she supports this program, so support her. She's right there, kind of around the corner, right down the strip from Jason's Deli.
And you can call her at 541-5458.
Went Services. I talked to Carl Went yesterday. He's in the Valley. He is literally, like, this is not like a talking point. This is like serious business. Setting records for Generac and Kohler, all these folks that
It's not a talking point, it's a bragging point.
It's a bragging point of fact. I told him that no doubt Wade and Carter's spots,
Sphere of influence.
were affecting his sales. He said it might have also had something to do with the deep freeze and the fact that storm season is right around the corner. But I put
You're
that
not top of mind. If
those
you're
are
not on
second
the
and
show.
third.
Yes.
That's right. Reach out to Wind Services and get your new generator today. They also do plumbing, solar panels, general electrical work, new construction, remodel.
You want a windmill to power that?
They do it all.
That water well for the cows, they can do that too.
Get the lights turned on and call Charlie Garcia 578-HOME. USA Concrete Coatings, polyurethane, antimicrobial, antibacterial, colored to match whatever you want. Sidewalks, porches, back patios, garage floors. They seal the cracks, take up all the oil, won't stick to your tires, last longer than epoxy, and you'll
4
be
times
glad
longer.
you did it. 578-HOME. That's the first time I've ever gotten through that without choking on my tongue.
Well done, sir.
Reach out to the Gray Barn. Reach out to the Gray Barn at 920-6803.
Victoria Wedding Expo this weekend.
Cheryl's going to be there in person.
She will be.
She's so pretty.
So
You
will
gotta
Texas
go.
Coast Limousine.
There you go.
We'll talk about
Constantine.
them a little bit later on.
We will. T-Lag, good morning, sweetheart. I
But
know
it's
you're
coming
driving back in.
Sunday, 11 to 4. And it benefits Mid-Coast Family Services. It's all taking place at the Hilton Garden Inn.
And also give a shout out to Mike Bloschke and Brooke this morning. I know they're listening. They listen every morning. They're just not always on Facebook.
That's understandable. But with this Lorette Tower of Power throwing out 25,000 watts.
We're here at the Tower of Power. Look, you can, our visibility, folks, it's kind of overcast and cloudy. You can see, I can see the HEB sign, but if you didn't know what it was, it'd be hard to read.
You're flying by instruments today,
right?
Not by landmarks.
You're just like on things today. Let's go back and talk for a minute. You'll recall that the left, the Democrats, when they were just trying to expose what a terrible human being, much less president, Donald Trump was, the ruthless nature of this uncaring man, that he was literally ripping children, immigrant children away, not illegal aliens, right? Okay. No. Immigrant children, ripping them away from their parents, saying, you go over there and you kids go to the cages, So he threw the kids in there with the kitty litter on the ground, fed them peanut butter sandwiches on stale bread, treated them like garbage. And that was what the left wanted you to believe about Donald Trump.
Cut the mold off the cheese slices.
Sure, yeah, we'll get rid of the green part, But it wasn't until Donald Trump flippantly, because he knew it was all a lie. It wasn't until Donald Trump flippantly one day in a news conference said, who built the cages, Joe? Who built the cages? Barack Obama built the facilities
in 2014
to hold folks.
And here was the thing. The need was so pressing, thank you, that the quickest way to separate young boys, young girls, teenage boys, teenage girls,
send them down the chute,
to keep them from doing what teenage boys and girls would do in a mass room like that.
What would they do?
And to keep line of sight to make sure that nothing, was going on.
No bikinis in the pool.
Was to put up chain link fences to separate everybody. I mean, to me, it makes sense. But when Donald Trump was continuing the policy of the previous administration, Joe Biden, now all of a sudden he was throwing kids in cages, right?
Exactly. So
Fast forward to February of 2021.
Joe Biden, with his open gate policy on the U.S., had kind of whittled down some of these facilities because,
Well, as we heard from Sheriff Lauterbach, in the final months of 2020, we were down to a trickle of the numbers that were coming across
as
illegally.
it should be, Joe Biden has now reopened these cages of torture, but the Democrats lovingly call them migrant facilities. We're just placing them in migrant facilities. It sounds like something that George Carlin could have had a blast with. You play football on a gridiron. You play baseball in a park. It's that kind of deal.
It is.
Donald Trump had cages for children. Joe Biden has migrant facilities.
Exact same facilities have existed since 2014.
And you think now that Biden's in office, do you look for him to go ahead and follow up on Barack Obama's plan to close Gitmo?
No.
See, people get in there and they realize what's really going on, and they realize that, hey, it's a nonpartisan issue.
Yeah.
It's a nonpartisan issue. You can run on it. You can lament. You can lie about it. But at the end of the day, the Democrats always come out looking like the hypocrites that they are.
Jen Psaki was asked point blank, and I'm paraphrasing, trying to remember exactly the question. Are you not putting kids in cages? And she said, no, we're not.
Oh, it's a migrant facility.
Yeah. But the other couple of developments, there's such a pressing need now for more of them. They're actually using retrofitted shipping containers.
Yeah, this is amazing, folks.
They're now putting kids into shipping containers.
Think it gets hot?
Well, they can air condition them. I mean, people live in these things. But the optics were bad enough when they were behind a chain link fence in an air-conditioned facility, no longer crossing a desert with strangers acting as their parents.
Right.
After they were kidnapped from their homeland, which we learned when you and I, about a year ago, thanks to Callie Fromme, talked with Joel Saldana on this show, a former DEA agent who talked about this at length. It was a great show. Go back and find it.
Callie Coleman Fromme says, kiddie summer camp for illegals, pasta necklace. You're making, I didn't get all of it. So you get the gist. They're making pasta necklaces. Yeah. Yes, we did have a Department of Homeland Security guru on the show who said, you people have been misled. Of course, we've heard that for 4 years now from Sheriff Lauterbach, who said,
exactly,
this is all human trafficking.
So,
don't feel sorry. These aren't people coming to work at Taco Bell. This is human trafficking.
So President Trump is an absolute monster for taking kids who are not with their parents. And we heard, I think, many as 85% of them were not with their actual parents. There was absolutely, and DNA tests even, I think, showed that to be higher. But lambasted is probably a soft word for it. But the former president, was lambasted for putting kids into these facilities. Joe Biden is now putting them into shipping containers.
Yeah.
And the left and the press have no problems with this.
You said it looked just like the tent city that they had out there.
Well, and there's that. They've got these tent cities, the same ones that were declared inhumane for Joe Arpaio to use for prisoners. But now they're okay to put these kids in because Joe Biden's the president. That's the only difference, folks.
Yeah,
the only difference.
The message is the same. Only the messenger has changed. Therefore, the term hypocrite. Let's take a quick break as Michael Cloud calls on time. Tell you about AtsonOffer.com. Atson-Offer Chevrolet, they've got a brand new Corvette over there that is on the showroom floor. I went by and looked at yesterday. It's the level 3 LT, so it's got all the leather, carbon fiber, black on black. It's really hot. Go check out the new Vet. Since 1926, quite simply.
I avoided the sticker price on it.
Yeah, it's $125,000. It really was $125,000.
That's the going rate for those Corvettes.
Craziness, but had 7 miles on it, so it's just been driven down to the truck and put on.
On and off the truck.
Absolutely, go get it today. Let's see, so $20,000 a year over 6 years, but then the camera's in Yeah, you can afford it. You can afford it. White Trash Services,
especially with the great finance rates.
I'm sporting my White Trash Services.
I noticed that
uniform today. Reach out to them if you live in the county or the 5 counties around.
Which route are you running today?
I'm going to go on out there towards Bloomington.
Okay.
Yep. Pick up some meth and the trash and come on back. Get out there.
550-1826, a number for White Trash Services for all your trash collection needs.
The Nelsons are great folks. I
They
heard
are.
that BJ Nelson's going to be in studio next week with Bill Posey to talk
Talking
about
livestock show. Yeah.
livestock show. So I don't know how
Maybe
they
that's
do it.
another guest we just siphon off from the Bill
I
Posey
bet we
show.
could. She'd stay.
I know.
Oh yeah, she'd stay. Give her a microphone and just go to lunch. She'd stay. BJ would stay and talk about all kinds of
I've
things.
noticed she's been sleeping in lately. She's
I don't know what
checking in
she's
after.
doing. She had a birthday. She's getting a little older. Maybe she had to
Still
take some
recovering?
rest. Yeah. Razor IT Solutions, JP Hull and his team will help you and your team. It's that simple. That involves a computer, encryption, monetizing your web page, getting your web page and your Facebook. You want a contiguous type theme throughout all of your social media. It's what JP does. And what I like about JP Hull, he looked at our website and said, okay, I don't like this, I don't like that. Let's clean that up. Let's make this, move this button over here. And all of a sudden, like we're at the point now to implement these changes. It makes sense. He's not as expensive as you would think. He will absolutely. And what's he worth if somebody hacks in and steals all your credit card information? What's he worth to you at that moment?
Exactly.
Great guy. Somebody had a question for the congressman. We talked about Steve Kidder already. I visited with Brandon Webb yesterday at Complete 360. Dawn and I went by and split a panini. And this is I'm not being silly. It's a custom made. I want this and I want that sauce on it. Everything's healthy. Everything's macroed out. He can tell you literally, well, that has 40 grams of protein in it. It's got, 6 grams of fat, whatever. He can tell you all of that about every product in that store. They're a nutrition outlet. They've got healthy snacks. You will be thrilled if you go to Complete 360, 2 locations. One up by Buffalo Wild Wings by the old Pier 1 up there, Cherryberry and all that. Go there. And the other one is down here, right here by next to Woodlawn Bowl, next to Ravens at Woodlawn. Just go right in there and you'll be thrilled.
This one opens at 7 o'clock, so they're open now.
They've got a waffle that's gluten-free, flour-free, infused with fruit and sugar-free syrup. And you wouldn't know it. If I brought it to you, you'd be like, that is an amazing waffle. There's nothing. Sometimes healthy food ends up being kind of cardboardish. This food is awesome. No. Look, what Adam Ritchie there, that's our buddy Adam, So he's got Wade and Carter, the W and the C. He says we're white and Caucasian. Just full of privilege, Adam, full of privilege, I mean, this show starts at 7. We don't even have to get up till 9. That's how easy it is. There we go. Good morning, Wade and Carter.
Good morning, sir.
What's the password?
The password is safe.
How are you, sir? Yeah, you're good. He's looking around going, hey, give me a password. I don't know what the password is. Are you in DC? We're trying to set the scene for our listeners here, your fans. Are you in Washington as we speak? Okay, he's like, no, I'm in the lobby. I just didn't want to come up there. Right.
You could get past the National Guard? Do we even have one of those anymore? With all the spending that's going on?
I listened to a highlight yesterday of Rush Limbaugh. And one of the things he said was, if a $15 minimum wage makes sense, why not make it 20? Shoot, make it 25. And he said, if we have a budget in Washington that nobody really makes any real attempt to balance any longer, what does it matter? If you can, give yourself a budget and then go out and spend whatever you want anyway, why even have a budget? And he was kind of,
tongue in cheek.
But if you start thinking about it, he goes, hey, if a $15 minimum wage makes sense, make it 25. What does it matter? We're just printing money anyway. How do you deal with that?
I heard one of the craziest arguments I heard with this as well. I mean, if the U.S. we can print more money, we're the U.S. We can print more money because everybody else is printing money. So the value of our dollar and the power of our dollar stays relevant to everybody else. But if we didn't do that, wouldn't our dollar be even more valuable and powerful? Yeah.
Yes, sir. What's on your mind? What's on your heart? Tell us what's going on and take a minute. You didn't go to Cancun with Ted? You know, I mean, on a serious note, we've joked about it here extensively because, in one hand, you've heard me joke about, Greg Abbott is going to be boots on the ground and down here during Hurricane Harvey cleanup. And I'm like, let's be realistic. That's a photo op. And it may be a needed photo op, a show of support, but it's a photo op because, at the end of the day, Greg Abbott's not going to pick up a lot of rubbish. But if you were just walking down the halls of Congress and you ran into Ted and he said, "Hey, Michael, how are you doing?" "I'm fine, sir. How are you?" "Hey, I think about going to Cancun this weekend." I think you would say, "Really, sir? I mean, really? Do you think that's a wise decision at this juncture?" Because even though I know that Ted Cruz isn't going to put on a hard hat or climb a pole, I don't think he made a very wise decision going to Mexico in the middle of a freeze. Yeah. After a couple of days, you're like, I don't care if the water's cold or not. I'm taking a bath.
Yeah. It don't matter.
Right.
So tell us about your activity in trying to extend the disaster declaration that Governor Abbott had asked the president to, for. He included all 254 counties in the state of Texas in his request. I believe 77 counties were actually confirmed or approved by the president. Any progress on that front? Because I know some of the counties in your district were not included in those 77. Was politics being played with this, basic refusal of 3/4 of the state in the declaration? I mean, you look at the counties, they tended to be around the large urban centers, which typically tend to vote more Democrat. Am I reading too much into the optics, or were there some politics involved in the decision not to include the entire state? Speaking of doing what you can to help communities recovering, the ERCOT situation opened up a lot of eyes. I think people now are probably a little more versed in ERCOT and what it can and can't do than they might have been before. And some people probably now even know that there is an ERCOT and didn't know. They thought that was a tourist they thought there was a tourist destination in Orlando, but no, it's not.
Nice. Nice.
We've seen a few board members quit, resign.
4 or 5 now.
We know that Governor Abbott sent a request to the president to allow for Texas to produce more power, and the president basically threw him the bird and said, forget it. It's not going to happen. What is your role as our congressman in this district to help ensure that that doesn't happen again and that Texans don't get legally price gouged? If something like this were to ever happen again, because I'm with Victoria Electric Co-op, and they had sent out a notice last week that they were paying as much as $9 a kilowatt hour, and I believe our usual rate's about 9 cents.
Right. 12 maybe, something like that. 8.
Yeah. It's really not a. Sorry.
One other thing is, I get tossed in this. I'm a co-op kid. My dad worked for 37 years out at Steck, and I can tell you that things happen, and like, for example, if you've got a gas-fired power plant this time of year when you're starting to think that winter is pretty much behind you, people schedule teardowns and maintenance on, like, say, a natural gas-fired plant because you refinish the turbines and all that when there are historically peak lows. And all of a sudden, you have a crazy perfect storm of a freeze snap up north. Doesn't happen up north. Well, the reason it doesn't happen up north is because most of their power plants are built inside buildings because it gets so cold. Down here, we can't do that because it gets so hot. See, it would cost so much to cool that building in the summer that the plant would be upset all the time. There's no way to do it. So you have to build them outside. You get to a certain temperature and the gauges don't work. And when the gauges don't work, it trips off the whole system. So on the one hand, that I can apologize for the lack of power. On the other hand, I can't understand having board members that are not Texans, and that, and I think it's paramount that we find a way to make sure that the South Texas nuclear project never trips offline again, ever.
Well, and I think people still struggle. If Texas has its own grid, why did we need permission to make more power to supply the state with its power needs? That to me doesn't make a lot of sense.
Is that part of the Green New Deal or something?
I don't know. I think it's probably been there a while, but I didn't quite understand that aspect. Why do we have to ask the federal government for permission to basically use our own power supplies?
Yes, sir.
Good. Hold with us as we take our final break, Michael, and then we'll come back because I want to switch gears and sort of switch over to the latest spending bill or proposal and a few other things that are moving through Congress right now. So we'll take our break.
Hang on one sec, sir. Allen's Wrecker Service, 578-6300. You got a car that won't go, you got a truck in the ditch, you need a crane, reach out to Allen's Wrecker Service. That's 578-6300. Alan, Janet, Little Alan, one of them will take care of your need. Highest level of competency and the most professionalism in their industry. Reach out to them. The VCS companies are our banner sponsor for what they mean to Victoria. Integrity, do it right the first time. When something goes wrong, stand behind your product. That's what all of our sponsors at Wade & Carter do. That's what we demand of all of our sponsors. We don't have any clingers on around here.
They are the experts in communication and can serve and satisfy all your communication needs.
Absolutely. Chestnut Furniture Company, 101 years, downtown Victoria, 116 West One Lane, corner One Lane and Bridge. Sorry, I was thinking Santa Rosa.
They have basically been providing Victoria's furniture needs for half the existence of the city.
Yeah. Amazing family. Bobby Leon carries on the tradition begun by his grandfather. So get downtown and get hooked up with Chestnut Furniture. And by the way, Veracruz is just churning. They are like the South Texas nuclear project of Mexican food. Get by there and enjoy.
It doesn't glow when they serve it.
Right? Maybe later, but it does it when you eat it. You will love the hot sauce, the queso, the guacamole. It's all perfection. It is the standard. So,
and don't forget, you can see Bob Constantine this weekend and Texas Coast Limousine at the Wedding Expo at the Holiday Garden or the Hilton Garden Inn. Stop by Sunday. He can answer all your questions about the travel needs you will need for your wedding day. Prom season's coming up. Maybe you just want a night on the town. Bob is a limousine that will accompany an intimate evening with you and your date, or an entire party because he's got party bus that can handle a pub crawl type of event if that's what you want to do.
And it used to be, Bob has taken this mainstream. It's still a special evening. It's still a luxury, but it is an affordable luxury. Reach out to Bob Constantine.
575 Limo.
575 Limo. That's easy. Yeah. Change a routine evening. Honestly, you and I go to Veracruz all the time. You load up your wife in the back of a limo and go to Veracruz, and all of a sudden you've had a big time dinner date. For real. And it's easy. Reach out, 575 Limo. So we're back with the Congressman Michael Cloud live from D.C.
How's the weather in D.C.? Is spring finally sprung? Absolutely. What explanation are they giving for that? I'm just not buying that the Capitol's still under siege if it ever was. Well, it was, but We never have. We've never had this kind of military presence following similar attacks on buildings in Washington, D.C. in the past. I mean, we've had bombs explode, and there was not this type of optics.
And there's still lots of questions at the constituent level about what really happened. And I've seen the photo, I'm sure you have too, of the lady that she looks like she's about 65. She's got her arms, she's got like a water bottle in one arm and like a small American flag in the other. And she's just shuffling through the Capitol. And it says, here's have you seen this woman? She's one of the, violent attackers of the Capitol. And they're being sarcastic, obviously, that, this just little old lady walking through the Capitol. And I've just seen enough video to go, what was going on?
She was from Mossad.
Right. She was a highly trained killer.
What is going on? Let's switch gears. What's going on now with COVID? Because now we're hearing like almost $2 trillion this time around with the spending bill. And I mean, just, and I've seen various estimates from, 5% to about 25% actually addresses COVID. That's it. The rest is all fluff and foreign aid.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm not sure how that's COVID related, but and here's the other thing. There's also some, yeah, well, and there's some pork for federal employees. One provision that I saw last night would allow federal employees to have 15 weeks off and get paid up to $1,400 a week if their kids had to virtually learn at home. And there's no provisions on what that age group is. So people are wondering, well, would that apply to somebody who's got college age kids? I mean, it seems like a pretty good perk for federal employees that nobody else is getting.
And that just reeks of, to me, being wrong. I mean, you can't give a benefit. I know we do it all the time, but you shouldn't be able to give a benefit to a federal employee that you can't give to the common man. And that's very disheartening.
But they have no problem giving you the bill an hour before you have to vote on it. Yeah.
Yeah, that's. when you see these things, and our listeners are just popping up all kinds of questions. Adam Sugar's popping up all kinds of humorous stuff too. He wanted us to ask, and I don't expect an answer, sir, but he said, y'all beg for questions and then you don't answer them. He just said, is AOC as dumb in person, or does she just come off that way on camera? So we'll let that go. But I did see somebody on here who said, that he put out $30 trillion. And if you just say it, it's obviously that's a big number, but you can't fathom it. It's 30 times, he said, 999 plus $billion. And, the first thing that I thought of is, even though I'm not a proponent of free college for everybody, I'm just not. Instead of sending money to Pakistan or whatever to study gender, I'd rather see that money invested in our education system right here in the U.S., even if that means that, although I like kids that work their way through college, and I think that helps them as they grow, just like I think being in the military helps a young person as they grow. I'd much rather see that money spent here spoiling our own than studying the gender preferences of somebody in Pakistan.
I'd rather it not be spent if we don't need to spend it.
I agree with that wholeheartedly, but gender studies overseas would be way down my list of places to waste money if I was in Congress. And that was England. Great Britain. Good eye. Take the money. Just kidding.
Let's talk a little bit about House Resolution 1, because this one seems to really stomp all over the constitutional separation of state control of elections, does it not? Well, because I think doesn't part of this bill, wouldn't this standardize mail-in voting across the country? Yeah. And yeah. And these things have always been allowed. We have absentee ballots. The Democrats did a good job this last election of really blurring that line of absentee ballots and mail-in ballots and trying to make the two one and the same, and they're not.
Well, sir, no.
Yeah. Well, I think we had comments on our show one time talking about this. People that had 3 ballots mailed to them and they didn't ask for one.
Yeah, a lady had a ballot sent to her maiden name at her current address, and she hadn't been single for like 20 years and had only lived at that house for like 2. But what's interesting to me is if you can federalize, if you can get the elections all under one roof, then it's easier for a company like Dominion to manipulate. I mean, I like the autonomy of each state controlling their own elections. I don't have a problem with there being a standard that is set out. I mean, Florida proved that the hanging Chad can be bad. I like the idea of having you need to vote this, with this type of equipment, but I don't like that it all goes to this, the Dominion supercomputer, and all of a sudden in the middle of the night, the votes spike. That type of deal sure does get convenient to manipulate. And there's no redundancy. All of a sudden you're voting electronically and their server goes down and you've got a huge problem.
Chris Conrad asked, does this bill also lower the voting age to 16?
I mean,
Okay. Okay.
Clearly something that benefits the left. It clearly benefits the left. The younger you can get people to vote, the more likely they are to vote for what they view as a free lunch. So there's no doubt that if you lower the voting age from, say, 18 to 16 and you pick up 50 million voters, 48 million of those kids are going to vote Democrat. You can bet on it because it's, free college, free, free abortions, free everything. They're all for that at 16.
Adam Ritchie.
Yeah. Yes, sir.
Adam Ritchie wants to ask if your stance on the election being stolen has changed. Yeah. Do you see any traction coming or maybe movement from those who are calling for more of a forensic audit of the votes rather than just a simple recount to verify, potentially fraudulent ballots or unverifiable ballots whose outer envelopes were destroyed, so there's no way to match up a signature? Is that something that you could see happening, or is that water under the bridge as well? What other pieces of legislation have we not talked about that have an impact? Obviously, there's a lot of talk about Sheila Jackson Lee's gun registration bill. Does that have a legitimate chance of passing? Yeah, it was Ted Cruz going to Mexico last week. Yeah, right. I mean,
Well, we talked about Joe Biden putting kids in migrant facilities, whereas Donald Trump put the same kids in the same facilities, and they were putting children ripped from their parents' arms, some ripped from their wombs, in cages. It was cages. Wow. Well, they think Joe's going to be open gate Joe. One thing that I think you'll be proud of, we have a gentleman here, Joe
Geistman.
Geisman, is reinvigorating the Victoria County Young Republicans group. They're meeting tonight, sir, down at
the GOP
headquarters. And we had some people, Clint Ives, Commissioner Ives called me after Joe was on our program the other day and said, man, Michael really was instrumental in moving that group forward. And just today, Lee Delagarza was in there saying, I probably wouldn't be as involved in the Republican Party if I hadn't spent time with Michael Cloud. So thank you for your investment over a long period of time, a lot of it behind the scenes in our community. And
he still qualifies as a young Republican.
He's got to be 40, doesn't he? He's got to be 40. Right? Yes. He's a younger Republican in Congress. If you run into our one of our political heroes, if you run into Jim Jordan, tell him that he has fans in South Texas, and we'd love to have him on the show someday with you. So fantastic. He's a fantastic spokesperson, and I hear him say a lot of things that I hear you say. So we're quite proud of you, sir, and appreciate your time and accessibility.
More, yep.
Give yourself a raise.
We appreciate
it.
Thank you, Michael. Appreciate your accessibility. We'll look to do this again very soon.
Be well, sir.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Congressman Michael Cloud. Appreciate his time and willingness to talk about the topics that affect.
Truly a fine guy. I mean,
his district, but also you can see the national impact of the things that impact our district. When you talk about illegal immigration, when you talk about disasters, declaration disasters that impact the entire state and only portions of and even a declaration disaster that didn't include everybody in his district, and he's working on behalf of that. So we appreciate his willingness to
absolutely
to get on the phone or stop by in person as well.
Our buddy Peter McNally said that he said, I guess Brent doesn't care about the young Republicans, the 16-year-olds. I just don't. I've raised sophomores in high school, and I don't want them having anything to do with matters of national security or the budget. Or I'll challenge you that 80%, and I'm being conservative to make sure that I'm right, 80% of the 16-year-olds in this community couldn't balance a checkbook. If there was one check in and one deposit out, that'd be it. They couldn't do it. So I do not need nor solicit the support of a high school sophomore. Sorry, they're still children. They're still dependents. They have no business voting.
They wreak enough havoc on our roads.
And there's absolutely no denying the obvious that they would vote in huge, they'd vote for Beto. Hey, man, look, come on. We're going to get some weed. We're going to get rid of the rifles. This is going to be great.
Adam Ritchie's pretty spot on with that one either.
Yeah.
As well.
Yeah.
To be honest, there's a lot of folks that shouldn't be voting because they just vote. It's like voting for class president.
Exactly.
Too many, and I've said this, I'd rather have informed voters than just voters.
It's like, come on, man. How else did Joe Biden get elected? Unbelievable. You folks have a great day. Stay tuned. The Hall of Famer, Ralph Salazar, along with our dear friend, Brother Gary Moses, who completely today, I know he's here. I can hear him. Completely shirt the Gary Moses minute of sports, trivia, what's going on. I know that Brother Gary is doing the Miss Victoria festivities this weekend. He'll probably be 575 limo with Bob Constantine being shuttled around. Queen Victoria.
There you go.
Queen Victoria.
That's a livestock show. Big deal.
I forgot.
Separation of state.
Right. And yeah. Go on out and cheer for them little heifers now. Come on. All right.
The monarchy
Victoria
is different.
The monarchy. He did just lean in, but he didn't come to the mic.
No.
He's because Ralph's in there going, get those weirdos off my station.
All right. We're getting off the station.
We love you guys.
We'll see y'all.